Alright everyone, welcome back to Beat Mother Reviews, the first review of 2021, and it's of course Dr. Octopus from XM Studios. Now I first saw the unpainted prototype of this statue back in 2017 at the Singapore Comic Con, so it's been an over 3-year wait for this guy, and let's not forget before that, the statue underwent a complete design overhaul, so Doc Ock has been in the XM pipeline for many years. And now that it's finally here, I'm going to tell you what this statue does extremely well. And I'm going to tell you an area where I think XM really dropped the ball. So what is it? Find out in the review next. Alright, so as we all know, Dr. Octopus is one of Spider-Man's oldest villains. He made his debut back in Amazing Spider-Man number 3, which was released in 1963. And his origin, pretty standard stuff for a villain. Brilliant scientist Otto Octavius created these mechanical arms to help him with his experiments. But shockingly, one of those experiments goes incredibly wrong, creating an explosion that fuses the arms to his body. Now, naturally, shortly after that, he turned to a life of crime. These arms can do some pretty incredible things. He can control them mentally to do just about any task he wants. He could use them to butter his toast, or in the old days he used them to smoke cigarettes, to incredible feats of strength. He can lift many tons above his head and launch it across the battlefield. He can also use it to travel at incredible speeds, including up and down walls, much like Spider-Man himself. Now, after his 60 years of existence, he might not be your favorite Spider-Man villain, but I don't think there's any doubt that he is one of, if not the top, most iconic villain in the Spider-Man history. He is a pretty classic supervillain in a lot of ways. He's had a lot of plots to take over the world. He's tried to poison the population of New York City, and in a very Mr. Burns-esque plot, he once tried to use the sun as a weapon. He's also the leader and founder of the group known as the Sinister Six. And he's also impacted Peter Parker's life on a personal level. A fight between him and Spider-Man led to the death of Captain George Stacy. He once nearly killed Black Cat, who was Spidey's love interest at the time. And perhaps his crowning achievement, actually body swapped with Peter Parker. Now that might sound ridiculous, but that led to one of the best, in my opinion, comic book runs ever. I love the Superior Spider-Man series. If you haven't read it, go do it. It not only gives a new life to Spider-Man, but it will endear you to the character of Otto Octavius in ways that his stints as a villain just could never do. So, I mentioned that this statue has been in development for over 3 years. It's here now. Was it worth the wait? Well, let's find out. Let's get into Sculpting Design next. Alright, so sculpt and design for this statue, I think, is an area where it really excels. And design credits for this piece go to Studio Hive, and sculpting credits go to Victor Hugo Sousa, who does some amazing work. You may have seen his 1/3 scale Hawkman for Iron Studios, or his Shazam for XM. So great portfolio for him, and another one added to the list here. Let's start off with the base, which I love. It has some really iconic looking New York City type architectural details here. You got the stonework, the brickwork, some ornate detailing here. You got the metal ornaments. You got the metal bank sign, which is unfortunately hidden mostly by his body, but it's still there, so details matter. I really love this carved column capo here above his head, and the details continue around the back, which is always nice to see as well. Now, I really love that they made good use of all 4 tentacles. You can see 2 of them are latching on to the wall here, holding him seemingly in mid-air. You've got the other one with the camera, of course a reference to Peter Parker and his day job as a photographer for the Daily Bugle. And the customary bag of money here, spewing gold coins. And they've given you some loose coins that you can spread around the base here. Dr. Octopus himself, he's listed at 5'9", 245 pounds. And that's not because he has this superheroic physique. In a lot of ways, he is the everyman villain. And they've done a nice job giving him his portly body type here. So a little bit of a different look from our normal superhero statues. Great job on the costume here. They've used various fine textures throughout the costume. They've given it, the fine stitching details, the belt with the customary pouches around the sides, the leather texture on the boots. So I think they did a great job modernizing the classic costume just enough to keep that sort of classic feel about it. The trench coat is a little bit more of a modern look, but I love the dynamic flair that it adds to the piece. You can see it flailing in the air and the belts and buckles also flying all over the place. Really makes it look like this is a snapshot from an action scene. Great portrait on this piece, and he does have a swap out portrait that I'll show you in a little bit, but this one here, a little bit more of a modern take, and you can see that evil, mad scientist type grin spread across his face. So overall, I think Sculpting Design, I really think XM nailed it here. Alright, I mentioned the statue comes with a switch out portrait, and you can see it here on the statue now. This being a little bit more of a classic look for the character with that bowl cut that he rocked for so many years. Different set of glasses, a little bit more of an aggressive expression as well. You can see how he's gnashing his teeth like that. I also like that he's looking a little bit more to his right, giving a little bit of a different display angle for the piece. So two very unique portraits for the statue, which is something I always like to see. Alright, moving on, we're going to talk about paint on this statue here, and I'd say overall, really not much to complain about here. You got the gray stonework here, various shades of red and brown for the brick, nice metallic finish to the bank sign and the different metal ornaments on the wall, and they've given it a sort of a grimy wash to it. You can see the dirt stains on the window and also this kind of grimy green along the base of the wall. So definitely a more of a worn down area of town here. Moving to Doc Ock himself, nice metallic finish to the tentacles with a little bit of a rusty finish there as well, giving him that worn appearance. His costume, the iconic yellow and green that we're accustomed to, a two-tone green here to help bring out some of those costume details we mentioned earlier. And with the suit, they've given that a little bit of a grimy wash as well, so it looks older and worn. And with a trench coat, nice brown finish to it with the darker brown straps to help bring those out. So really nice job on the costume overall. Skin tones look pretty good. The lips are nice. The teeth are excellent. Probably my favorite part about the whole paint job. Really nice realistic finish to the teeth. I wish they'd do that on all their statues. And then we got the sunglasses here, which they've given kind of a silver to blue gradient finish there and a little bit of metallic finish as well to give them that reflective appearance. So not a bad job there, although I will mention those glasses again in the next segment. Paint-wise though, overall, as I said, not much to complain about here. Alright, production and build quality on this statue. Let's start off with some of the extras that you get inside the box. And like most XM statues, you get a nice art print that you can put alongside your piece. You get the packing layout photo, which is always useful if you ever have to pack it back up in the future. And on the flip side of that, you've got the registration instructions and the QR code that links you to the assembly video, which was up on their channel before the statue came out, so the credit to XM there. Some statues will come with the metal plaque. It's got a little kickstand on the back, so you can display that alongside your statue if you like. Alright, so let's talk about some of the positives with this statue here. You got the great XM packaging that you always get with their pieces. Once you get it out of the box and assembled, you have a statue with immense size, incredible presence that's going to look great on your shelves. And it's very, very heavy, so make sure you got some strong shelves in order to display this guy. One thing that I have been harping on XM about for a while now is the realism of their sculpts, or of their casting, I guess. And you can see here that the jacket is clearly a separate piece from the body. It actually looks like he's wearing the jacket, finally. I mean, they could have done maybe a little bit better job here in the cuff of his sleeve, but still, that is a massive step in the right direction for XM. Now to get to some of my complaints, we'll start off with the glasses here on the modern portrait. In the sculpted renders, his whole face was actually sculpted, his eyes and everything, and it had these translucent lenses, and you could see this sort of crazed look in his eyes below there. And you know, with the way statues have progressed in the last 3 years, it's not out of the question to think that XM could have come up with a way to have translucent lenses there, and it would have, I think, elevated this statue even higher. Could have looked great. It's a little bit of a missed opportunity there. Now, my big complaint about this statue is the engineering on the tentacles. It was an absolute nightmare for me to assemble this piece. I had problems with all 4 tentacles on 3 of the arms here. This one here, and then this bottom one. The claw is a separate piece from the arm, so you have to kind of slide the arm into place and then try to simultaneously get the claw into place here around the corner of the building, while trying not to break off one of these fragile little parts. You know, so the claw has to grab onto the building there. Very difficult to do. This arm almost couldn't get in all the way. It took a lot of force. Felt like I was going to break it. This claw down here, again, is supposed to grab onto the wall. And I've noticed in a lot of photos of other people's that it's kind of hanging out here in midair. And mine would do that too, except I had to put it in a specific way. These claws are keyed to go in a specific way into the arm, and I had to put it in completely the wrong way to get it to fit like this. This claw here in front is supposed to actually be in the back, so I had to rotate the claw around, and that allowed me enough wiggle room to get it at least sort of touching the wall. That creates a little bit of a gap here, but I can live with that more than I can live with the claw dangling in midair. So really a big letdown as far as the engineering goes. I really think XM, after 3 years, could have done better there. So as I said, ultimately you left with a pretty amazing looking piece, but I can't help but feel a little bit disappointed with the production quality on this statue. Alright, time to wrap up the review here of the XM Studios Dr. Octopus. And you just heard my little rant about the assembly and engineering on this statue, and that does give me a little bit of a sour feeling about the piece, but I think ultimately the positives really do outweigh the negatives for this piece. You have an absolutely fantastic sculpt here from Victor Hugo Sousa. All kinds of little details on this piece. I love the base. I love how they've used the tentacles in the design, freeing up his human arms to do more important things like shake a fist in defiance. Lots of great detail on this piece. You got a really nice paint job as well. You got 2 really great, unique portraits, and for me, I'm actually surprisingly leaning towards this classic one. I never would have said that until I got this statue in hand, so it's a tough decision because they're both really, really nice portraits. And ultimately, once you get this statue assembled, it's gonna look great in your collection. It has incredible presence. I'm really happy to have it at the end of the day. Finally, we have the iconic Dr. Octopus in our collection. I'm going to make a spot for him back here on the shelves behind me, and you're going to see this piece in all of my future reviews. So there you have it, Dr. Octopus from XM Studios. Hopefully you enjoyed the review. Stay tuned, subscribe, and we'll talk to you guys soon.